Chronicles of a Play Therapist podcast is raw, unfiltered, and unapologetic, discussing mental health from a play therapy specialization, including trends, treatment approaches and techniques, theory, and the business of psychotherapy practice. Get ready to learn and play with your host, licensed clinical social worker and registered play therapist supervisor, Althea T. Simpson.
Hello, and welcome to the relaunch of Chronicles of a Play Therapist podcast. I am your host, Althea T. Simpson, licensed clinical social worker and registered play therapist supervisor. We are relaunching the Chronicles of a Play Therapist podcast to focus on trauma and play therapy. This podcast is for information and educational purposes only and should not be taken as mental health treatment or diagnosis. I was supposed to relaunch Chronicles of a Play Therapist podcast back in April and then again in August, and I just wasn't ready. We as in me and my podcast team met back in March, and I was telling them how I wanted to relaunch and focus on trauma and play therapy. I told them that the reason I kind of stopped was because it just wasn't fun. I was appeasing other people with topics that they wanted to hear about related to play therapy and then business as a psychotherapist. After the first 6 or so episodes, I was like, this is not for me. But I persevered. I kept going. And then I had to reset. So we talked about relaunching this podcast and sharing my personal experiences over the past year with being triggered and having to hit the reset button for my own trauma healing. I am a child survivor of witnessing domestic violence, and I was also psychologically and emotionally abused as a child. My earliest recollections is first grade up until I was halfway through my 10th grade year. For me, that has had such a profound impact in my life. And things came to a head for me last July when I went off on some of the participants at my Black Play Therapy conference. And it was unfortunate that people who it wasn't intended for were impacted by that. So it was a combination of things that I had experienced over the past couple of years relating to my business. I encountered a lot of loss. I encountered a lot of hits with professional relationships that turned sideways and sour. And when they turned sideways and sour, it just didn't end. It was like my integrity was attacked. My credibility was attacked. My professionalism was attacked. And I felt all of that coming at me during the conference because people were not satisfied. I don't know if they didn't read before they signed up for the conference or even the welcome packet. But anyone who has ever trained with me know that when it comes to people's money, I am very transparent about how I operate my training programs. And it is spelled out on the registration page. It is spelled out, especially for my conference. I don't play when it comes to paying me money for services. So I spell everything out. I'm very transparent. And it wasn't just that. You know how they say the straw that broke the camel's back? Well, that was the straw for me, because over the past 2 years, like I said, I've had encounters with janky people who set me back emotionally, physically, and financially in a professional realm. And I minimized or dismissed those hits because it wasn't personal. And that was a mistake because those professional hurts turned out to be very significant for me. And like I said, it came to a head. And some of the things, I'm not going to really go into everything that happened and name drop and none of that stuff. But the things for me over the past year that I've had to heal from, and I had to reset my healing journey, and I'm still healing, but I had to reset my healing journey. Like I said, I've been attacked professionally, and I worked very hard to establish myself in the play therapy community. I worked really hard to establish myself. I started a conference. I started a Black Play Therapy Society. I started a Unicorn Life Play Therapy Academy to help people get their play therapy credentials, because play therapy is so freaking amazing. I absolutely love play therapy, which is hurting my heart and my soul because I'm stepping back from it because it doesn't hold the same meaning for me anymore, because I've been hurt so much trying to bring innovation to the community, trying to bring culturally responsive treatment and care to the play therapy community for the healing of my Black community and the cultural responsive mental health treatment of people in the Black community, of any race that's working with people in the Black community, because we have unique needs that's different. There's no other race that encounters the problems that Black folk encounter because of the color of our skin. That's from disparities to racism and anything beyond and in between. And so I saw a gap and I tried to start filling in that gap so my Black community can have culturally responsive treatment met with humility, met with kindness, met with empathy. And I didn't know that it was going to cause the pain and the hell that I have encountered. And what people see on social media is very real. The wins, the trainings, the conferences, the things that I post is very real. But what I don't see is the hurt and the pain that I go through to make this stuff happen, the loss that I encounter on a personal and professional level to make this stuff happen. All y'all see is the shiny silver ball or the glitz and the glamour, but you don't see the emotional pain and turmoil that I go through to make it happen. And it's being obedient because this is a calling on my life. I'm supposed to be writing commercials. I have an MBA in marketing. I'm supposed to be writing commercials. That's what I wanted to do, but God had another plan and he has me planted in this field. And that's what hurts so much, that I'm being obedient and that obedience rips me to shreds. When people attack what I try to do, I operate out of integrity. Now, I'm not saying that I'm perfect. And I know that I have a mouth and I have a way about me that's learned behavior because of my trauma. And that's not an excuse, but that's a part of me that I don't try to act like it's not there. I have to acknowledge that part of me. I have to nurture that part of me so that it is cared for, so it's not harmful to others. And there have been times that I wanted to use my viciousness, because my mouth can be very vicious and is backed up with facts. There are times I wanted to do that and God shut my tongue down and I couldn't speak. I couldn't say what I wanted to say. It would not come out. I have to nurture that because that's not congruent to who I am as a person, who I want to be as a person, is not congruent to who I am as a healer and who I want to be as a healer. But it's also a part of me that I cannot discount or dismiss. So I have to nurture that. And when I don't nurture it, it can be reckless, but it's not vicious because God will not allow it. Trust me, I've tried and God shut it down. Over the past couple of years, people have taken money from me as I continue to try to build my business and make things available for other people at discounted rates. People take advantage of me. They think just because my stuff is lower, what I'm offering is a lower rate, that it is not valuable, not knowing that I'm on an assignment and I know that I can charge 2 to 3 times what I charge people, but that wasn't my assignment. People have filed egregious complaints against me. People have made complaints that I am not qualified, capable, or knowledgeable to train on a master's level. People have reached out. They tried to attack my livelihood. They've reached out to organizations where I'm supposed to train or have speaking events with. and telling them that I'm mentally unstable and unethical. That's just some of what I've been encountering. People who have gotten services from me and then contacted their banks or PayPal and said that it wasn't provided or it wasn't up to par, but they still had my stuff and they utilized it. I have been through a lot and I have been pushing it to the side to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. I'm a very resilient person, but you know what? My resilience is a manifestation of my trauma. But I think the thing that really shattered me was the part where someone used my trauma history, because I'm a storyteller when I train. I like telling stories to make connections to the content that I am delivering. And although I have written and verbal permissions, consent and assent to share my work with clients when I train, when I do supervision, when I do consultation, there was a particular time that I did an intergenerational trauma training with the Black community, how intergenerational trauma affects the Black community. I used my own personal stuff instead of a client's stuff because I try to honor them, because they bless me to be able to use my work with them to help others. And I honor them. That's why I don't record any of my training live. I would rather take the extra time to sit down and to record after a live training than to record that. That's how I honor them. But this particular time I decided, because it was so relevant, to use my own content, which was a mistake because that was used against me in a complaint. And it was very relevant to what I was teaching. And it shut me down. I was afraid to train, like shattered my confidence in my ability to train. And that I knew where that came from. That came from my trauma, being told that I was worthless, I was stupid, I was dumb, I would never amount to anything on a regular from first grade to 10th grade. That's a very long time. So those messages don't go away. And sometimes it rears its ugly head. And it doesn't matter how successful I am. It doesn't matter if 50 people tell me that they got what they needed out of a training. It's that one person that shakes me to my core. But then that just opened up. I never realized how many people had a problem with me until the snowball effect of me kirking on people at my conference, because that opened up, like, they already had the weapon. I gave them the ammunition to knock me down off of a pedestal that I never asked to be put on, because I don't do this for showmanship. I don't do this for show. I love play therapy. I love the benefits of it. I know the power of it. I know the effects that it has to change lives if it is done effectively, appropriately, and intentionally. One of the biggest regrets that I have is ever gracing social media with my presence, with my visual presence. I use social media to post my food and my travel. People never really saw who I was until I got connected to a business coach in 2018. And I told them what I was trying to do. I wanted to start my academy. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. And they was like, well, you got to go on social media and tell people about play therapy. I was like, oh, like I clutched my pearls. I was like, how can people not know about play therapy? But what I found out is a lot of people didn't know about play therapy, and especially that you can use it with adults. And so that's when I started doing my videos and posts and stuff. I wasn't expecting to have the likability that I had, but it was backed up with knowledge and facts. I freely gave content. I freely gave people free training to help subsidize the cost to become a registered play therapist. Nobody did that for me. My prices are low because I know the sacrifices I had to make. It meant something to me, but I was blessed to make the sacrifices that I did to be able to pay full price, upwards of $7,000 to $8,000. That's with training and the supervision that you had to have. None of my stuff was discounted, but I was blessed to be able to still do it. So when I was put in a position, I wanted to make it affordable. And I know affordability is subjective, because even with my low rates, I had people coming at me saying I wasn't really trying to help people. I wasn't really trying to help the Black mental health professionals because I was still charging what I was charging. People charge 2 times what I'm charging, 3 times what I'm charging. So maybe it's not time for you to do this if this low rate is still not in your price point. Then I was wrong. People started attacking my credibility, but I didn't realize how much I was hated until that blow up. And the association started contacting people about me to ask about me. 4 years in above board program. And I made one mistake by flicking off, perking out at people who were coming at me. Then I became unprofessional. I became the villain because I protected myself how in the moment I felt I needed to protect myself. This impacted me so much so, like I said, that I stopped training. I stopped training for a couple months. And then I had an obligation to train in September and October of last year. September in Pennsylvania for the Pennsylvania Association for Play Therapy and October for the International Play Therapy Conference. And I wanted to cancel both, but I was already being looked at as being unprofessional. And I didn't know if I canceled, would they snatch my ability to provide continuing education, which my Play Therapy Academy became a part of my livelihood. So without the ability to provide continuing education, I wouldn't have an academy because I sure wasn't going to collaborate with someone else so they can hold over my head that I needed them for my program or for my academy. It was a snowball effect. It was like the vortex had opened up. We got so many people was like, yeah, the vortex has opened for us to crush her. Because I never knew that people had so many negative things to say about me. And all I did was put out good to people. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect because I know I got a mouth. And sometimes when people come at me and you keep coming at me, and that's the thing, people thought that they could keep coming at me. And because I was like promoting my business or had a product or services to sell, that they could say anything out their mouth to me and it's supposed to be okay. And I'm supposed to just take that. Let me just let you know, even when I was in customer service and in retail, and I was a manager in retail, I never believed the customer was always right. And I would not allow customers to disrespect my crew and my staff. That's why I never had a problem with people coming in when I needed them to. I never asked people to do something that I'm not willing to do. And so I never believed in that customer is always right. And they found out because I'm only going to take but so much of you degrading me and trying to vilify me because you didn't know how to apply what was given, or that I wouldn't give you more and you felt that you were owed more because I had it. Not because you wanted to pay for it, but because I had it, I was supposed to give it to you. Or because you paid me one price, I'm supposed to give you, like you pay me bottom shelf price and you want top shelf everything. Even if I charge somebody bottom shelf price, you're not getting bottom shelf anything from me. So I didn't understand. And I was hurt by the hate that I received in the form of comments about me and my character when asked. So I went on and trained, and I had extreme anxiety training for Pennsylvania APT. Then I had to go to the international conference, and I so wanted to cancel. And I was like, but if you cancel out there, they're going to say, yep, she's unprofessional. Let's just go ahead and take her credentials. And this is just my process. This is what I was thinking. This is how I was thinking. And then I got there. I do my training. I was a co-facilitator. And at the break, someone who had been training with me for about 2 years came up to me and said, hey, I'm glad you finally showed up because I didn't recognize you as a trainer. I don't try to let my emotions go into what I'm doing, but I guess I was that impacted that it showed, and it took some time. It took about 40 minutes for me to warm up, 40, 45 minutes, I don't know. But then later that day, someone else came up to me and said they were asked, why was Althea asking for permission to speak and she was a co-trainer? And I told them I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. I was asking for permission to speak during a professional training. I was scared. As I continued to do my work with my therapist, I was scared. When I told her what happened, I was scared. When we processed it, I was scared because I felt that someone in there was watching and listening to everything that I say to get more ammunition to take me down. Whether it was true or not, that's what I experienced. That's what I was feeling. I didn't feel psychologically safe in that environment because with the two people about the training and then people coming up to me saying that they received calls and wanted to know what was going on because they received calls about me. And then that's when I later found out people saying that I'm not qualified to train. I'm not knowledgeable to train on a master's level. Those trauma messages reared this ugly head because I heard I wasn't good enough. I was stupid. I was dumb. What many people don't know is that I shut down when I was in first grade because I was afraid to speak. And I got put in special education because they thought I was stupid and dumb. I was very smart, very analytical. I was just too afraid to speak. So I became selectively mute, and that put me in special education. So those messages and that stupid and that dumb, and two messages in particular, or very specific messages come to mind every time I'm in this type of space. I remember at 7 years old being told that I wasn't worth 10 cents walking or riding. When I was 11 years old, I was told that I was as worthless as a one-sided penny. And me being the analytical kid I am, it kept me in trouble. I stayed in the house because I didn't want to get teased at school and outside in the community for being in special education, and then being still also getting called dumb and stupid at school, outside in the community when I was supposed to be playing with kids, and then in the house too, in my home too. It was a trifecta of negative messages of me being stupid and dumb. But being told that I was as worthless as a one-sided penny, I had to think about that because I was like, wait a minute. I remember staring at him, my stepfather, and he was just going off on me because I was just staring at him. But I wasn't tuning him out, not listening to him. I was trying to process being as worthless as a one-sided penny because I was like, if a penny is the lowest currency and then it's one-sided, I must be really worthless. So all of this came up for me. And then it had me thinking, when my stuff, right, I get blamed for calling people out for swiping my stuff and selling it to other people, things that I gave people for free. They package it and sell it to other people as their own. They steal my content and present my content as their content. And everybody is revering these people. And those messages from my stepfather, like, yeah, you're a damn dummy. You stupid, because other people are profiting off of stuff that you spent the time to research and to develop. I call those microwavable people, right? They want stuff real quick. So they steal from other people, swipe other people's stuff, don't credit them. It's okay to use stuff, just give credit, but don't profit off of something that I gave you for free. So I ran into a lot of people like that. And like I said, some of them were allowed in my circle. So they got stuff for free. And for those who know me, y'all know how creative I am. This is a curse, right? It's a blessing and a curse because God has given me this uncanny ability to be creative, and stuff come really easy for me to come up with. Because I do the research, I get a concept and boom. And sometimes I don't even have to do it. It's just like, okay, do this. And then I got to come back later and fill it in. And all I could hear is my stepfather saying, you the damn dummy, you stupid, you dumb, you the one that's worthless because somebody else is getting notoriety and money off of something that you created. That's what trauma does. So my trauma is those negative messages and negative self-evaluations that still come up, no matter how successful I am. I'm a little Black girl that's where I'm not supposed to be, according to society. I was in special education. I grew up in the hood. And although I grew up in the hood, there was nothing hood about how I lived. And when I say that, like we had every gaming system. We were the only family in the community on the block with Super TV. We ate seafood and steak and game. That's why I'm so adventurous with how I eat stuff now as an adult. Back then, I didn't want that stuff. I just wanted hot dogs and peanut butter and jelly. But that's what my family ate. That's how we lived. We had, and although it was filled with domestic violence, was a staple in our home, but so was family dinners where we all sat and ate together, where we had game nights, we had movie nights, we went to the carnival, we went to the movies, we baked on the weekends. My mom is still like over 40 years strong in the government agency that she worked for. My stepfather, he was employed too. It wasn't like we were poverty ridden, although we lived in a poverty ridden community. For me, those self-evaluations, those negative self-evaluations come up and it impacts me. That's what trauma is. Those experiences will forever be a part of me. And I try to tell people my mouth is very vicious. God has to shut me down because sometimes I just want to go. And if I get going, I'm not going to stop until I'm satisfied. But that will harm people. And I don't want to be harmful to people. So again, I have to nurture that part of me because it's not how I want to be as a person. So with my stepfather having those like, you dummy, this, that, and the other, all of this stuff has impacted me. And I am at a place now where play therapy doesn't hold the same meaning for me because I see it as a part of my hurt. And I'm still working through that. And one of the things that my therapist asked me was, how do I open my heart to myself? She said, I know you, Althea. I know who you are. I know what you give to other people. You open your heart to so many people. How do you open it to yourself? And I wanted to intentionally hang up on her during our Zoom call. I just wanted to hit the end button because I couldn't answer that question. And it took me about a week before I really addressed that question that she asked me. And so I opened my heart to myself by forgiving me, by apologizing to me for being more to others than I was to myself, for putting me to the side because I felt obligated. Like I said, sometimes things just come so easy for me, and I feel obligated to make it easy for others. And that ended up hurting me to the point where I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't even want to be in this field anymore. I didn't care about helping others anymore. I am so thankful to God that in the midst of all of that, He had placed me in a position where I only had to have 7 clients. And what I was going through was not impacting or harming my clients because I was in a place where my mind was the hell with everybody. I don't care about helping anybody. I don't care about helping anyone, but my actions were different with my clients because I have a responsibility to them to not harm them, but to help them. And so I had to take a line from Kirk Franklin's I Want to Be Happy when throughout my healing journey. And healing is not microwavable. It's not instant. Healing can hurt. But that hurt is worth it, knowing that getting on the other side of it is going to be some joy and some happiness. And even on this journey, you may have some hiccups the way that I had a hiccup. You may get a flat tire that need to be changed. You may need to hit the brakes and go in a different direction because when you're healing from trauma, that is an ongoing journey that will meet you with setbacks. So in taking a line from Kirk Franklin's I Want to Be Happy, I had to start looking at getting out of my own way. I got comfortable in the hurt once I realized that I was hurting because I wanted to blame and I didn't want to take responsibility for the role that I played in it, whether my intentions were good, but also the role in how I responded to those who didn't have good intentions toward me. I was stuck in my feelings and I had to reset so I could feel what I was feeling, but not be stuck in my feelings. So if you want to be happy and you want your healing to start, you got to get out of the way. You got to get out of your own way. Don't get stuck in how you feel. That don't mean that you don't feel what you're feeling. You don't get stuck in what you're feeling. Get help to see what road to take. I love my therapist. I love working with my therapist. Even when she tried to make me sit with stuff that I don't want to sit with, even when she tried to take me down roads that I don't want to go down, she's patient, she's kind, she's empathetic. She meets me with humility. And that's the type of therapist that is needed on a healing journey. So get the help to see the road you need to take. A therapist can be your navigation system, not a coach, but a therapist, a mental health therapist, because a coach cannot ethically go down roads that you may need to go down and bring you back safe. So you need to get connected to a mental health therapist. Do your work. The real healing and the real work happens. The real change happens outside of the therapy room. But use your mental health therapist as a navigation system. It's not going to be microwavable. Get the appropriate help so you can work on releasing the things that has hurt you in your past. Now, releasing doesn't mean forgetting, but the releasing can help you get to whatever your healing place looks like. Everybody's healing place looks different. And I know that some people, their healing place is getting to a place of resilience. Somebody else's healing place may be, I curse people out 6 days a week, and now I only curse people out 3 days a week. Your healing is individualized, and it's for you. It's a unique print, just like your fingerprints. But you have to start somewhere, and you have to hit that reset button when you hit those bumps in the road on your healing journey. Because again, healing is ongoing. I am your host, Althea T. Simpson, licensed clinical social worker and registered play therapist supervisor. Thank you for listening today. And until the next time, play well.
Chronicles of a Play Therapist is sponsored by Unicorn Life Play Therapy Academy, where play therapy is magical. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe in your favorite podcast app and follow us on YouTube. Chronicles of a Play Therapist is intellectual property of Althea T. Simpson. All rights reserved.